Hey there, viewers, and welcome back to the South Main Auto Channel. So we got us this 05 Chevrolet. It's a Cobalt, pretty basic one, hand crank windows, manual locks, you know, all that business. The customer complaint was drive down the road, lights come on the dash, and it shifts hard. And that's all I know. That was the only note that was left with the car. I get in it, start it, drive it, you know, no issues. Drive around town, drive around a big road. Can't really seem to get anything to act up or, you know, duplicate the symptom. Needless to say, I grabbed a scan tool, scanned it for codes, and every module on the car had codes in it. You know, body module, power steering, engine, tranny, and they were all, I think it was a U2100, you know, for network communication problems. Some of them had codes for, you know, loss of comm with BCM, loss of comm with power steering module. So basically it was just a bunch of, you know, no comm codes. So I brought it back to the shop. I was going to come in and call a customer and find out, you know, when does it act up, you know, how do you get it to do it, what's been done. But prior to doing that, I popped the hood out in the parking lot, just kind of visual inspection. It's got some new parts on it. I see some extra added ground wires like to the computer, oxygen sensors, you know, stuff like that. You can see it's been touched. So before I made the call, to find out more, I just took, and knowing that it's likely going to be this no-comm issue, you know, putting a training in limp mode or, you know, whatever to, you know, match her symptoms, I took and was just, you know, tapping on different things. I tapped on the ABS module, tapped on the ECM, tapped on the body control module, which is inside the car, tapped on the power steering module, and I look at the dash and now the traction light's on, and I've lost communication with the ECM. I think I tried to communicate to power steering, you know, I couldn't talk to anything, but amidst, you know, tapping on stuff, I booted out my data link connector, and sometimes the scan tool doesn't like that, so I let it restart the scan tool, and then everything's working again. So I was like, yeah, it's a coincidence, you know, what's going on? So long story short, brought it in. I've got the Pico hooked to it. I think I've isolated the, you know, potential area of the problem, and thought, now what the heck, you know, we'll grab the camera before we get too far and have to, you know, try to backtrack. So I'll show you guys where I'm at. All right, so first of all, here's the codes that are currently in it. This U2100 is in the body system. Kind of scroll up through some different ones here. ABS, same thing. U2100s. Now some of these modules work on GM LAN and the high-speed network. No comm with PCM, transmission no comm. So you can kind of see, you know, where we're at. That was the last scan that I did on it. Now I've got the breakout box hooked to the data link connector, scan tool's hooked to that. I've got it hooked to the Pico over there. So we'll turn the key on here, shut the headlights off. And you can see currently we have network communication. Everything should be talking now. Take and change the time basis on this a little bit. So there's our standard, you know, high-speed communication network. You know, everything looks fine there. And no lights on the dash, just the seatbelt light blinking. And chances are, let's see which one of these was a no comm. I think power steering. So just for the heck of it, we'll back out here. We'll jump into the power steering control module, see if we can talk to it currently, which I believe we will be able to. See if it has any code stored in it. And so we got loss of comm with BCM, and then that U2100 and 2105, whatever the description is for that. So currently we can talk to stuff. Now, being that I was, like I mentioned, that I went through and I was, you know, tapping on different things, and then saw the traction light come on. That's when I brought it in and figured, well, maybe, you know, maybe we can get to, you know, the answer simply by tapping on stuff. So I've got the data link, you know, breakout box hooked up, got the Pico over there, and when I was tapping around the power steering module, I got the CAN lines to drop out, so I'll show you that. So the power steering control module actually lives up under the dash here. This is the motor for the power steering. I can see the connectors just through here, so I was touching those. But one thing I did notice, I couldn't really isolate, you know, am I touching the connector or am I wiggling this, you know, that bigger connector up there, it appears to have can lines in it. So I decided at this point, you know, I'm going to stop, get the camera, plus get a network diagram. Got to know your enemy. Let's see here. So there's our data link connector, and it comes out to the power steering control module. The high-speed CAN goes to the body module, and then it comes down to this connector C201, and it was essentially the only connector I've seen until this C101 out by the training module somewheres, I assume. So I thought I would look to see, you know, while I'm fiddling here, because I don't want to fiddle too much, you know, is this connector, you know, the C, whatever it was, the C201, and it turns out that it is. It's this 40-way, you know, C201 connector that has, let's see, it's got the GM LAN that runs through it, and then our high-speed data right there. Probably runs a pin right next to it, I imagine. Yeah, it does. So our high-speed does run through that. That is our connector. So that's, you know, essentially kind of where I'm at. All I know is I touch something up in here, you know, inadvertently moving a harness. We have to isolate, you know, is our problem in this connector? Is it in the actual power steering, you know, control module connector? You know, where's the issue? You don't want to fiddle a whole lot and, you know, accidentally fix a connection and then never know. So watch the data there. I'm just going to reach up in here and just start touching the harness again. See if I can. I'm just very lightly touching it. Starting to move some stuff around. Right there. Oops, let's see it drop out for just a brief second there. Yep, right there. So what I have to do is try to, you know, isolate what the heck is going on. Let me see if I can't just isolate one section of harness here. Okay, right there. I let go of it, so I'm pulling on just, looks like just the power steering control module harness. I'm going to try to grab that just independent here. Pull back on it slightly. No, it doesn't seem to be doing it now. Just trying to, there's a metal bracket up here, I'm just trying to rub it against it. I didn't see it drop right down to ground, so I doubt it's shorting. Right there. You know what we ought to do? We ought to change our trigger. Oops. I'm going to change the trigger down on our to channel B here. Because anytime I've seen it drop out, it's always CAN high. So we'll keep our trigger there. That way if it drops out, we'll definitely see it. Yep. Just got to try to right there. So that's right now. Let me see if I can let go of this harness. I'm just trying to tell if I'm pulling on the plug, if it's actually, you know, because I'm moving the wires. Try tapping on this connector, the C201. Alright, I'm going to flex the wires for C201 right out of the way. And then try to move just the power steering control harness. Sometimes this stuff can be kind of finicky to, you know, duplicate the problem. Like I say, you don't want to go bending and moving too awful much and then, you know, ultimately not be able to find it. Got it to act up a couple times here, right there. Right there. There's your problem, lady. I'm going to let the harness go. Yeah, if I let it go, and right now I'm only moving just the power steering control module harness. Wish I could show you guys this all at the same time. And it's not really tweaking up on the connector of it, to be honest with you. Just pulling up on it slightly. I see the tape has been disturbed on it, so I don't know if somebody's been in there doing some poking or what we're going to find here. Give it a good shake. Boy, I sure would like to see it drop out again and just stay dropped out. But as soon as I let go of it, it kind of comes back. Just tap on the module itself. steering wheel. Gosh dang it. When you know it, I can't get it to act up again. Well, I'm going to fiddle with this, see if I can't get it to drop out and then just, you know, touch actually one piece of the harness to 100% isolate it. Alright, so finally it looks like it is broke. I just kept, you know, just lightly touching the harness. I ended up just pulling the tape off. So it's this harness right here. I don't want to touch it right now. That just goes to just the power steering module. It is lightly touching the other harness for that other connector. So what I have to do now, because we see it is broke, it does cause the condition. The traction light did come on. You know, of course, if we drive it now, there's no comm with, you know, on the high-speed network. So it's going to cause it to shift hard and stuff. But what I want to do is see, you know, do we just touch, you know, the power steering control module connector? Do we just barely touch this harness? I'm going to grab a little pick because I want to be pretty precise with it. Alright, so I got a pick. I'm going to go just all the way into the connector. I'm going to reach up under the dash and let's see, so that should be the can high. So looks like tan with black in, brown with white out. So it's the two with tracers. Looks like the very top one on this connector. So I'm going to reach up here with a pick and just barely touch this top. Yeah, and it's gone already. Try to push down on that. Yep, right there. I'm just barely touching a single wire at the connector, the tan with the black stripe. I pick it up. Let me see if I can just barely push down on it. I'm just trying to be very, very ginger with it. Piss pot, huh? Alright, I'm going to take, now that it's not goofing up, I'm going to grab just that wire individually. Yep, now I can't get a glitch out of it. Unfortunately, when I touch just that single wire, it does move the entire connector. Gosh, I'm pretty confident that we're going to be having a pin fitment issue here. It doesn't really take much to screw up the can lines here. Pretty interesting. Just trying to fiddle with each of these just right at the connector. But I'm certain when I touched it, when it came back, that it did not move any of the rest of the harness. Like I said, I barely laid my pick on that pin and it was gone. So I unplugged the power steering module here. I just wanted to do a pin drag test on them to see what these pins look like, and the ones that were, you know, supposedly having problems with, I mean, that feels really good. It's got, you know, decent tension on it. I don't see any crud or anything in it. So I'll take and poke that one back in here. We'll pop out the other one here, the brown with white. This little tiny connector is going to be a pain to take apart sometimes. The crimp on it looks nice. I mean, pin tension feels good. Yeah, definitely no issues there. You feel that move in the connector. Of course, that one's blank. I don't know, man, they feel pretty dang good to me. I'm going to see if I can look up in the dash at the male half of that, you know, because that's the other potential problem, is where it plugs into the power steering module. You know, if those pins are loose, or if the problem is in the module itself. Well, I cannot for the life of me get this thing to act up now. So is it a matter of, you know, fiddling with the pins? Like I say, they felt tight and everything. I'm going to take and, just for the heck of it, spray a little Deoxit D5 in there. It has a contact enhancer. I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to plug it back in. The only thing I can really do at this point, I don't want to make a call on the power steering module. Now, when this was plugged in, when I did, you know, when it was acting up, when I did reach up in there with my pick, I literally just touched, you know, about like that, just touched it, and, you know, bam, it came back. I don't know. Like I say, I'm not confident spending their money quite yet. So I think the only thing we can do at this point, I went and cleared all the codes out of it, left the old Bob down there on the floor. I've got the power steering, of course, cleared all the codes out of all the modules that we set by fiddling with stuff. I'm going to take it for a drive, see if we lose comm to the power steering module. I fiddled with that connector and those wires after, you know, unplugging it and essentially plugging it back in, and I can't get a flicker out of this thing to quit. So we'll heat up this, you know, power steering module simply by driving it, and you know, see if we can't duplicate it. If not, there's really nothing I can do at this point. So I'm just getting ready to leave, and I see old Bob down there on the floor blinking, beeping at me. It's at 15.3 volts, and I see that on the scan tool too. I don't know why this is severely overcharging. Turn on some loads, shut off the headlights. Looks like you got a couple problems going on here or what, but I'm sitting here idle and in reverse. Let me just put it in drive. That's something to keep in the back of our minds. No dropouts yet, been cruising around. I was just kind of concerned about that 15.3 volts, but I see in the BCM desired battery voltage is 15.28, so must be because it's calculating state of charge of the battery, and you know, it's just the mode that it's in. So I guess we're not gonna worry about that too much. No problems there. So I'm going to continue to drive. If I can't get this to drop out, then it is what it is. So nothing yet. One observation I can make driving this car is it shakes like crazy. You know, like rear wheels are out of balance or something, but I mean, it's like just like a really high frequency vibration, almost like, you know, if you had a bad U-joint. So I guess it would, you know, be plausible if, you know, as bad as this car shakes and as lightly as we had to touch that connection, you know, perhaps it was just a connection issue. That's where the BCM lives down there. Now I haven't done anything with that other than when I was doing my initial tap test. If you're wondering what the cover is laying on the floor there. But, you know, I guess we saw it with our own two eyes. You know, it's definitely dropping out of the network, and just, you know, you guys didn't see me touch that connector, but it was very ginger, like hitting it with a feather. You know, it would come and go, and it was kind of sporadic. Well, I came back to the shop. I drove it. I hit bumps, ran it down to rumble strips, railroad tracks, lots of turning, some in-town driving. And I can't so much as get a glitch out of this thing now. So I'm going to let it go through and just scan all the modules. You know, I don't think we're going to have any codes. We didn't have any lights come on. Never lost communications. So. Alright, well, what do you do at this point? You know, short of driving it and actually duplicating the symptom 100% in the get-go, you know, just basing it on codes alone, you know, all these no-comm codes, and then just going through and tap testing and actually finding a problem while doing that, without being too aggressive, like really, twisting on connectors and getting, semi-unrealistic. I have to assume that it was just a poor connection at the power steering control module. If that opened, everything else is essentially downstream of that on the network. So yeah, it would goof up a lot of stuff. When I unplugged it, it did generate the same codes as, what were in there previously. I even, went in an attempt, after, we've already checked pin fitment and stuff. I put an ohm meter on there, graphing ohm meter, and was, just wiggling, tapping, trying to get even just a little glitch in that, just a glitch in resistance, which, we would have seen on the scope, but I figured out what the heck, So, I don't know. Yeah, I wish one of the pins really didn't feel that good or didn't look good, but they did. The pins felt good. Maybe it had just the slightest bit of oxidation on it, on the male half of the terminal, and by simply unplugging it and, plugging it back in, resolved it. But we did see, on the scope that it, was taken down the positive side of the high-speed can. It was goofing it up big time. But here's what it is. It's a whole lot nicer if just the module was, gone wacky and you could put your finger on it and say that's what it is. So I'm going to assume at this point it is just a bad connection until, something else happens down the road perhaps, or maybe nothing happens and we're 100%. I know I saw it and, got right down to that connector and just barely touched it and everything's back in business. So, I suppose there is the possibility that, where the male terminal goes inside the power steering module, that, there's, a crack in the solder joint and just, unplugging it, plugging it in and move that. There's still some possibilities, but at least we got some direction. If the car does come back, then, we know exactly where to start, and we'll be very ginger with it again and try to duplicate that. But for now, I can't waste any more time on it. I've wasted way too much time on it, as it is. So leave it at that. Give it back to them, see what they say. Leave me your thoughts, comments, questions, criticisms, and concern in the comment box below. While you're down there, click that subscribe button, click the bell, find us where you can find us on Patreon, and just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.